Hey guys, welcome back to From the Depths with ChillBuilder here. So we finally made it. Today's the final episode of Barons of the North with CRAM only challenge difficulty playthrough. Pretty wild ride, to be honest. Despite what you see here, with me constantly winning, it's definitely being a stressful campaign. Every move has to be perfect, very precise. There's almost no room for error, right? So I'm looking forward to something a bit less stressful. It's definitely been a learning experience. Obviously, I had some experience building CRAM rushdown units previously, but just getting the scale small enough for some of the early game AA, that's definitely a big challenge. That's not like very unconventional, right? So our first fight here is Alpha Centauri Raiders, and this unit is called the Gungnir, which is almost no threat to us. It can't turn to fire as a laser. The lasers are continuous, I think. It's not 1Q pierce, and then it didn't have a lot of connection points for the laser. As you can see, the whole thing just falls out, which is kind of unfortunate for those laser builders. You definitely want your laser to be split into multiple chambers that's compartmentalized, so you don't have stuff like that happen. So now our cruiser is quite fast, so we do kind of have some issue reaching this craft. It took me a couple of tries, but I was able to capture that. Let me just check the notes for the material salvage. Oh, there it is, 270k, so that's decent. Here next up is the Incommutabilis, which after this I'm just gonna call it the mattress. I think this is the only time we see this craft as well. It's got decent particle cannons that I want to take out immediately, which, look, we do. And man, this thing is fragile. I don't think it's got a lot of heavy armor construction. It's just pure metal, which our crowns tear through pretty easily. So the cruiser is meant to be a rushdown unit. It has a high reload time of 40 seconds on the guns, which is less optimal for pure damage for crams, but as you can see, when they do fire and hit, they're much more forceful. Sadly, we just missed our chance to capture that unit. Like, we were right at the AI, but we didn't have enough energy to capture it. And like the whole center of that craft is cored out by crams. That's pretty funny. Now we're just doing some off-off operations. So yeah, let me know if you guys have played this campaign as well, and if you're inspired to do this CRAM only challenge, or if you've done any other crazy challenges for any other campaigns, or stories with either Barons or any of the other custom campaigns. I really do enjoy custom campaigns. I think a lot of the fortification points or resource points on other CCs are much more heavily defended, so even if you play fast, you'll get lots of good battles, whereas for Niter, you either wait a long time for the enemy to build up their forces, or if you're fast, you can finish the campaign without barely fighting any enemies, which is kind of a shame. You really do not see the roster that's in the campaign if you play in a way that's strategic and optimal, which is kind of crazy. Here we got the enemy resort town. This big unit is a Cygnus. I think it's like 400k or something. It's very fast. We can't really catch up to it with speed alone, but I do like my warp drives, and the Dust Magic Hover Tank is able to warp up and gain to shooting range of this thing, and it has basically no armor, so it's pretty funny to see the whole like engine fall off of the craft. I did actually have to try this very easy battle twice. The first time I just had the hover tank, and unfortunately it get hit by all these missiles that it's not optimized for, and I did lose a lot of aerodynamic efficiency. That's the second time I have my land ship just parked next to the houses and taking them down while I chase down the, I don't know, like this resort cruiser myself. Oh, there, look, captured 160k resources. So while we're chasing it down, the land ship is actually acting as a radar magnet to absorb all those missiles. So that strategy worked much better in terms of reducing the repair costs. Here's a fun Easter egg. This is a crashed arrow. Yeah, it's a freebie for players to get 200k resource, I think. Finally, here we are. We're preparing the fight against the Empire Spaceport Defense Forces. I kind of figure out what their spawn order is for this fleet, and we need to have the perfect unit to counter each unit that comes up, which is kind of annoying, but that's kind of like how the CRAM playthrough works, unfortunately. Our first unit is the Dragon's Anathema coming up against this Huomeijian. The Dragon's Anathema is a heavy variant. It's designed for speed rather than agility, and it's perfect for catching up to this thing. We just lead the target a little bit, shooting on the front manually, and hope for some shots onto the rear section of the vessel. Once you damage some CJEs, it's all over. Once it's not able to maintain a good range to the dragon. Yeah, look at those picture-perfect CRAM shots. Would you like to hear about our extended colonoscopy? Hey there. Anyway, yeah, jeez, right into that hole on the back of that ship. I think at this point I'm trying to land some shots onto the side of the craft because that's where its AI is, but they do have a bit of heavy armor that's not super easy to get through. And I'm more concerned about taking out its guns and not suffering more damage to my craft. Now the guns are not super strong, but they got high AP, so there's always a chance for a lucky shot to mess us up. There you can see some of the CRAM shells bouncing off because probably some of the gun components, especially the fuser, the fuse box got damaged. And now we didn't take out the AI, but it's just in the water and we'll just let it despawn naturally. Our own craft is down to 87% health, so I like to pull it out and commence the next phase of the battle. Now the cruiser is on the field of battle. This cruiser was designed as a rushdown unit to capture the Cobalt in the original Niter campaign. I had to remove all of his diff APS guns, or I think they're hybrid diff APS, which is kind of just for flavouring. It does come with harpoons as well, which I had to remove for this playthrough, but I ended up keeping the warp. I think one thing helpful would have been to replace the APS turrets with distraction crams, just to let more of our main battery through. But anyway, it's got a smooth haul, and I'm happy to not change it further, especially when the campaign's over. This is a non-repair cheese arrow, so let's see how long it lasts in a normal one-on-one fight against the Divine Comedy. Oh boy, yeah, there's barely any heavy armor on that ship, so if you get a good shot, if you go through the ablative layer, which is the front of the ship, which is pretty much just empty space, once you get through that, yeah, it doesn't have too many defenses or armor to speak of. So I think my biggest takeaway from this CRAM run is you got build your hull around your CRAM weapon, get close to the target. Ground units need to be survivable and take lots of punishment. Air units need to be fast. If you're fast, you can't be too survivable. You just need to kill them faster than they can kill you. So CRAM, building for CRAM is almost like building for melee. You got your weapon system, which is super efficient, and everything is built around making that work. Yeah, like CRAM is basically melee, but with a couple of 100 meters of range added to it. That's how to optimize for that. My biggest regret from this campaign is not having breadboard friendly avoidance programming into the craft, but I do feel like, because we do have a lot of losses and damages from either friendly or enemy collision, I think more custom collision avoidance would have helped. But again, you can only occupy so much space when you're a close range fighter. That's either close to the target where you can do effective damage, and especially if you're chasing, you can only be behind the craft. It's very hard to be in front of it. So I don't know like how much more helpful having better collision avoidance would be. You kind of just need to have a single optimized craft to chase down every single class of enemy. Yeah, a little bit frustrating on that aspect. This cruiser has taken a bit of a beating. It's destroyed 2 enemies that's the same cost bracket as itself, and a bunch of defensive structures. It's time to retire it, even at 90% health. I know, it can fly at 60%, but at this point there's no reason to risk it. The final enemy, I don't think they have any vehicles left. It's just these bases, and then it's the final spaceport. A perfect job for our Siege Titan, which is approaching very fast. So this is a land unit that's optimized for fighting other land units. It doesn't have a super long charge of time. On the CRAM, it's just a 20-second reload. So within 1 minute, or just over a minute, it demolishes 3 of these missile bases. You just need a salvo to demolish 1 structure, right? A few other projects I've been working on in this time. So for this playthrough, I spent about 5 to 6 months building up the units. 1 month to actually play the campaign, and I did a lot of testing too, to know what unit counters what before even starting the run, and then 2 months to do all these videos. For the next project, there are a lot of CCs I want to play, and I don't think there'll be huge time commitments because I don't need to build new units. There's a cold water CC which I can potentially use my project Tiamat units, which that's going to be interesting. The Finest Hour, I do have some historically themed units which I never used in any other campaign, so it'll be good to kind of dust them off. Then finally, there's always Ruler of Steel, which I love. It's going to be very time consuming to play it, and I can potentially use the whole Imperial Guard for that, which I'm sure people will be happy to see the Imperial Guard. In the meantime, I've been making sailboats. There's not a lot of opportunities to use sailboats in campaigns, but with the new sail update, it's very beautiful to make sailboats. They're very pretty looking. There's another little fleet of units I've been kind of messing around with. It's called the Magnum units, which is basically a concept of a close range railgun. You rush down the target and you fire the railgun at point blank range. The railguns are big railguns on a very small chassis, and then basically these railguns are so small they have no accuracy. There's no recoil absorption whatsoever. You have to fire them into the enemy's face, and then they will explode inside. So that's been kind of interesting. There's a lot of rewarding for those, and maybe there's going to be some opportunity to show them off. So here we are, finished the Barons of the CRAM campaign, but I think once we hit a certain critical mass, it's a foregone conclusion. There's a Titan floating over the spaceport, which is also ours. Overall, at the end, we captured so much. There's actually 1 million resources we didn't end up spending. Here's one of the enemy units they end up building, so it's not that the AI has just been building crap. They've been building some decent stuff, but they're just not able to keep up with our speed. So yeah, that's it for this campaign. Thank you guys so much for following this whole time, and I don't know when I'll see you guys next, but have a good one. Bye.